we discovered this kind of format from eye surgeons, because Silke needed a particular kind of eye surgery at a certain moment, I think 2 or 3 years ago. And there was this eye surgeon in Frankfurt who gave this bi-monthly info hours online, talking about the latest trends in this kind of eye surgery, what the options were, and answering questions through the chat and so on. So we thought, oh, this is a nice format, we should do this for the innovative stuff that we are doing. So in short sequence, we set up an info hour like this one for OpenSpace Beta, another one for cell structure design, and another one for relative targets. And the three work the system approaches that we created over the course of the last 5 years. So the idea is this about selling? No, it's, yeah, okay. I mean, everything is about selling in life, yeah, but the idea is really to share some knowledge, share some information about OpenSpace Beta today. I will explain a few things first. Of course, as we are so few people, you can interrupt me if you like and ask questions in between. But the idea is, let me talk for a moment, and you can ask a question anytime in the chat and so. But the idea is that I give a little bit of basic information about the history, the applicability of OpenSpace Beta, and then we get into the question and answer. Is that okay? This should take an hour maximum, but if it takes longer, it takes long. All right? So, by the way, I have to share my screen for a moment as well. Let me first cover the basics of OpenSpace Beta. I will show you the OpenSpace Beta web page here. OpenSpace Beta, get change done in time. So that's like the concept overview page where we explain what it is. And so this is on the Red 42 website. You can put in www.openspacebeta.com. You will get to this page. And here's the thing that I wanted to mention first. There's an open source license, and then there's this concept overview. I will click on this to make it bigger, or maybe just amplify it. So here is the essence of the concept. And it says two things. If you look at this page here, it's a social technology by Red 42. And as we have already seen upside, it has an open source license. So what is this stuff about? These two things need to be explained. First, how is this open source? Like open source software, Linux, for example, this can be, everybody can chip in and co-develop this, develop it further, use it even commercially, and all this is written in the open source license. So this is not like free beer, this is like free speech. Everybody can use it. Everybody is invited to make use of OpenSpace Beta, even for commercial purposes. So if you're a consultant, advisor, you can make use of this, commercialize it, and every organization is invited to use it, and nobody has to ask Silke or myself. We are the creator of OpenSpace Beta for permission. Yeah? So this is really free to use, and here's the detailed open source license. It says here which kind of license it is: Creative Commons CC BY-SA. How this works: you have to credit the original authors, provide the link of the original page, and also keep your new innovations open source if you create something new on top. Yeah, you cannot just close it down saying, oh, now I created a little improvement, now I make this mine, and everybody has to get certified by me. So nobody has to get certified on OpenSpace Beta, and we want to keep it like that. All right. So this is one of the first things to understand. This is a social technology that's free for everybody to use. Nobody has to get our book, our qualifications. I mean, we write it, we have a book, we have materials, we do courses, but nobody has to do them. Yeah, everybody's free to use it just as they want. This is the first thing. Then the question is, what is a social technology? And this is very important to explain. This is not a tool. Yeah. There is this wonderful man, Ralph Kilman, a guy who has been active as a scientist since and doing research since the 1970s. And he wrote an interesting article in the 1970s about the difference between a technique, a tool, for example. It could be a software tool or technology or something. I mean, like a watch or a method or something like that. Let's say OpenSpace. We're going to talk about OpenSpace in the morning. It's a large group facilitation method, and you could say that's a technique. Yeah, but to make that technique happen for an organization, in an organization, for a group, and so on, you need what Ralph Kilman calls technology, a way of getting it to work in a specific context. Yeah. So the technique might be open space or agile retrospectives or a Kanban board, but a Kanban board by itself is nothing without the technology, the way of making it happen, you know. And that means you need to, you know, invite people to use it, enabling people to use the technique properly, you know, the before and after stuff and so on, and the context. So some people call that implementation or execution, which we don't like. We don't like these mechanistic terms. So the idea that Ralph Kilman presents is that you need a technology is more than a technique. You need the technology, the method, the tool, and so sometimes, but you also need a way to bringing it about. Yes, and this is what OpenSpace Beta is. It is a technology, a way of bringing about organizational transformation, so to speak. Yeah, it is really an approach to organizational transformation. So this is very important in OpenSpace Beta, and that's why it has the timeline, as we call this concept overview. It has this time axis here that says 60 days OpenSpace Meeting 1, 90 days OpenSpace Meeting 2, 30 days. That makes a total of 180 days. There are all these elements that you see here on the top and in the bottom part of the overview. They are elements needed. They are partially techniques to make the whole technology work. Yeah. Which is why OpenSpace Beta is indivisible. You cannot take one piece out here of the structure, and it would stop to work if you take a piece out. Let's take one example of this. Draft and send invitation. You cannot take that out here. Draft and send invitation on the lower left. It's one of the like 20 elements here at the top. If you took that out, the whole thing would collapse. It wouldn't work anymore. Yeah. So you need every element. This is not a menu to choose from. This is a technique and a technology that only makes sense as a whole. Yeah. So you need 10 roles here at the top, if you look at it. 10 roles, starting with sponsor, facilitator, formally authorized managers, influencers, and reputationers. We had to invent a term for this. Teams, participants, conveners, masters of ceremonies, coaches, stakeholders. These 10 roles are all essential to make this happen. And then these 20, I think it's exactly 20 functions at the bottom. Elements as well to make sure this can happen, that this is robust, all right? And there's the temporal structure that you see in green that allows to do this in a time box fashion over time. Yeah? So the whole thing is like a bit of code, like a software code, an approach, a full, it's not so trivial, right? It looks a little bit complicated, but it's not mechanistic. You really need these things. They work together. By the way, don't believe what I'm saying. I'm just trying to explain you the concept here. The whole thing forms that social technology. If it would take something out, the whole logic might collapse. All right, so OpenSpace Beta is a social technology and it is open source. Yeah, free to use for everyone. Now, looking at it, taking a step back, what are the main things that you see here? That I think that 3 stars of the show, so to speak. One is the real star of the show, and that's here the thing at the top right, the laws of the Beta Codex. That's what this thing is really about. It's OpenSpace Beta is about creating an organization that follows or applies these design principles that you see here. 12 design principles, the Beta Codex. Some of you know it already, maybe. I know Dimitri knows it a little bit. I'm not sure about the others. So OpenSpace Beta suggests to make an organization beta, and this happens through the technology that you see here, this whole temporal structure. So you want to make, if you want to make an organization beta from what we call alpha, command and control, managerialism or managed pyramid organization, functional division, and so on, and you want to take it beta, this is the best approach. Yeah, but this is really the star of the show. All that this is about is to create a beta organization, and this is an elegant and robust way to do it. Okay, so beta in a way is the star of the show. So show the reason or the purpose of this. Now there is another important element in the name, that is open space. We use open space here twice, as you can see, and open space is used in a beautiful way. We got this idea from Daniel Mesick, the fantastic agile Scrum expert, really, from the Eastern United States, from the East Coast. And I met him the first time, I think, 6 or 7 years ago. We then gathered again in Maine 5 years ago, and during that encounter, Silke and I had the idea to create OpenSpace Beta, built upon his previous concept, also an open source concept called OpenSpace Agility. We can talk about this in a moment. But Daniel really had this idea of using open space in large-scale transformation of potentially entire organizations, to use open space twice, to use it to begin a period of 90 days and to close it or end it after the 90 days. This is the beautiful core structure of OpenSpace Beta, this core part that you can see here. You begin in open space and end in open space with 90 days in between. Yeah, so we use this large group format called open space, invented by Harrison Owen in the early 1980s or 90s. No, I forgot. Yeah, so decades ago, 1980s, I think 1983 or something was the first open space event. So we use this social technology, open space, twice. And this is really interesting because when Harrison Owen 40 years ago, exactly 40 years ago, created OpenSpace, he created it to do organizational development together with many people. It then became famous as a open conferencing format of sorts, for loose movements and so on. But it has almost never been used for organizational development purposes. I once asked one of Germany's most experienced and famous OpenSpace experts, I asked him, man, how often have you used open space for organizational development purposes, for stuff like transformation? And his answer was, in 30 years, 0 times. He had never used it for organizational development, always for other stuff, community stuff and so on, but never for organizational development. So with approaches like OpenSpace Agility and here OpenSpace Beta, let's say, open space is coming home to where it really, really belongs. In my mind, we don't have to agree on that, but I think that the greatest potential, the biggest power of open space lies in using it to support transforming organization. In OpenSpace Beta, we use open space meetings, this large scale format. It's well explained everywhere. I will not go into detail here, but it's an invitation-based themed. It must be themed. There must be an invitation. There must be a sponsor. And participants basically self-organize. They propose the session themes themselves. So you do not need, speakers or a stage. It's dramatically self-organized, so to speak. It's the most dramatically self-organized formats of all large group interventions. Very simple to do, very, very simple. And scalable and up to thousands of people, which is why it is perfect for organizational development purpose. You can do, if you have a company of 60,000 people, suppose, of course, you need several locations and several open spaces, because one open space you usually, even if in a large location, you can only do an open space with 2,000 people. So if you have 60,000 people, you need a couple of those, but still it's possible. Yeah. I will not talk about the details. You can ask later if you like, but this is the way we use open space. We use it twice, invitation-based, so there must be a sponsor first. This role at the top left here that you see, there must be a sponsor emitting the invitation. This thing is described here to the left, theme crafting and draft and send invitation. Then socializing the invitation, and then the first open space happens. Yeah, and then with the open space, the participants of the open space get authorized in OpenSpace Beta to do the organizational transformation work together, the change work together for 90 days. Then the space is closed on a second open space meeting, and which offers opportunity for a great retrospective of the whole transformation effort. And this is why we can guarantee that this kind of transformation always takes 90 days, or the whole thing, if you look at the whole timeline, takes 180 days, give or take. But it doesn't take 2 years, it doesn't take 1 year, it takes 180 days. Yeah? And the core work takes 90 days, guaranteed, because OpenSpace 1 and OpenSpace 2 should be 90 days apart. Very simple, yeah? So we talked about the Beta Codex. That's what this is supposed to bring about, a Beta Codex organization, like Toyota, Handelsbanken, WA Gore, Southwest Airlines, Semco, and so on, or Burzorg, and so on. Then we use OpenSpace, and then there's a third star of the show, in OpenSpace Beta, and that is, what's the third star of the show? Can you see it? Well, the third star of the show is in a way the 21 concepts that you see in this concept overview. So in a way, the third star is, well, there are other stars like the roles first that you see here, the 10 roles, and then the 20 functions. Those are the other important building blocks of this approach. If you look at this, I hope you see that this is very different from conventional change management. It has nothing to do really with conventional change management. There's no preparation behind closed door, no rollout. In a way, this is rather different. You only need the sponsor to really, really want the transformation to happen. The sponsor invites everyone. Everybody meets at OpenSpace meeting 1. Everybody meets. A good percentage of people will meet at OpenSpace meeting 1. Gets authorized to work the organization or the system together with the sponsor. They do the transformation work together during the 90 days, which involves quite a few concepts here, as you can see in the center. And then there's a closing and a retrospective on OpenSpace 2, and that's it. Yeah. Very intuitive thing, nothing behind closed door. You need very little consultants, very few consultants. There are 2 consulting roles in this concept. One is the master of ceremonies that you might see here. The role of master of ceremonies, of which we need exactly 1 person, like the master of the process Gandalf, as we call this role occasionally. And then you can have additional coaches, as we call them, really experts, advisors that contribute key concepts, insights, trainings, qualifications, so that the organization can do the transformation during the 90 days and acquires knowledge and skills or mastery that's needed to do this work. So OpenSpace Beta has these 3 sides, so to speak. Beta, as the star of the show, the thing that you really want to bring about. OpenSpace used twice to create the temporal structure of OpenSpace Beta, and then these elements, which are roles, 10 roles and 20 functions, to make it happen and to do the content work, to make the content work happen. Good. What I should mention at this point is maybe this. OpenSpace Beta is designed to bring about beta organizations. You might be familiar with the Beta Codex. If not, look it up, betacodex.org. You find a lot of things, about the case studies as well and so on. But you could also use this to bring about a lean transformation or an agile transformation. Yeah, it is totally possible to use OpenSpace Beta for particular themes involving coherent systems, to transform coherent systems, like companies, big parts of organizations and so on. So one can modify OpenSpace Beta to make it work for lean transformation, agile transformation, total quality transformation, if you like to call it like that. Yeah. And you can combine the sets of principles that those concepts bring with them with the Beta Codex, because here we say, okay, we designed this to create Beta Codex organizations that will apply these laws, 12 laws of laws or principles of the Beta Codex. But you could also say, no, we call this Beta Lean transformation, and to the 12 laws of the Beta Codex, we add Deming's 14 principles, which are great, by the way, and totally coherent with the Beta Codex. So you could modify this approach in a way to bring about something that's more, say, geared towards industrial or production companies, or more towards software development concepts by combining this with certain agile concepts. These things are possible, but they are not written here in the concept overview because we developed this specifically for beta transformation, so to speak. Yeah, transformation towards the beta. Good. Is this okay? Great. I will tell you a few things about the history of this. Where does this come from? I already mentioned Daniel Mesick briefly, but I should, doing an introduction on OpenSpace Beta, it would be despicable not to mention where this comes from, because Silke and I, we published this, that's why we are the authors of the book and of the concept and so on, but we did not invent this in a way. We found it, we combined it, we created the application and so on, but there are different routes that need to be acknowledged. Otherwise, this would be something like theft. One of the major sources, first talking about where does the Beta Codex and Beta come from? The roots of that are in the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable, of which I was a director between 2003 and 2007, 2008. So for 5 years, I was a Beyond Budgeting Roundtable director. And when we had a split in the Beyond Budgeting movement in 2008, the group that I was part of, we wanted to become more about organizational transformation. Ultimately, the OpenSpace Beta only came about 10 years later, but in 2008, we already knew that we wanted to unite this work about understanding organizations better that had been done in the Beyond Budgeting Roundtable. We wanted to combine it with actual transformation of actual real-world organizations in practice. The Beyond Budgeting Roundtable, so to speak, was more of a talk shop, a think tank. There was community and talking, but no doing. We wanted to combine the doing. Why? For a selfish reason, in a way. We thought that only if we do this in practice can we research more about how this really works. Yeah. So we believe that the thinking and the doing must come together. Otherwise, it's, I sometimes jokingly say, it's just mental masturbation in the long run. It's worth nothing. So. And in a way, OpenSpace Beta is the outcome of this philosophy. We have to stop to just talk. We have to combine the talking and the thinking and the research with the doing with clients. So in 2008, we founded the Beta Codex Network. First, it was called the Beyond Budgeting Transformation Network to indicate that it was about transformation as well. And when we started the Beta Codex Network, in 2008, we began to work. Of course, we continue to work with clients on change, and we started to combine different change approaches, like John Kotter's change leadership approach, then managing transitions by William Bridges, psychological analysis, like by Carl Gustav Jung, the certain psychological preference analysis, and so on, to make this more doable, to deal with the social dynamics that would unfold in organizational transformation. So we tested out all kinds of combinations of approaches, but something didn't work. So in 2018, we figured out Daniel Mazik's work, and Daniel had developed this OpenSpace agility, very different than the approach by John Kotter and change management approaches. And Daniel Mazik had, as I mentioned, come up with this idea of time boxing, whole-scale organizational transformation by using OpenSpace once and then twice again after 90 days, so with 90 days in between where the transformation would actually occur, where it would actually be done, full-fledged, and then with a review in the second OpenSpace. So this idea comes from, Daniel Mazik calls this approach of time boxing transformation, he calls it Prime OS. But the concept he has really published, and he has published a handbook maybe some 8 years ago called OpenSpace Agility as well. And then when we found about his work, we thought, okay, this is too good, this overall architecture of transforming organizations, this invitation-based approach, this time box change approach. It's too good to just do it for Scrum teams or Agile teams. Like 600 Agilists or 2,000 Agilists, we must help organizations transform we have to help entire organizations to transform with Beta. So that was the idea of his Beta. Yeah. As I mentioned, we also use Harrison Owen's OpenSpace approach, and look up his work. It's fantastic on the OpenSpace meeting format, so to speak. There are other influences like socio-technical systems movement, people like Marvin Weisbord, Russell Eckhoff, and of course, Eric Trist, Marilyn Emery, Fred Emery. So all these people from the socio-technical systems movement, led by the Tavistock Industries, that has been highly influential for these approaches as well. And then in 2018, when Silke and I made the decision in Maine to tweak OpenSpace Agility, change it, and make it fit for Beta transformation, it took us 5 months until the book was published. Yeah, so that was very fast. We really sketched out the concept very, within just a few days. Got the book published in just 5 months from idea to publication date. Quite fast, because we thought this was so relevant, and we had the first client doing it another 4 months later already. So the first transformation happened in 2019. We have done a couple up to now. The last one was in Austria with a company that does, highly customized manufacturing, very large scale projects. Very interesting. So we have been doing quite a few of these OpenSpace Beta transformations, and colleagues of ours like Peter Pearl have done transformation work as well with clients, following the OpenSpace Beta approach. The launch of the handbook happened in 2019. We also published a poster and even this kind of box, with books, poster, working materials, which is available in German, in English. And the handbook, the OpenSpace Beta handbook, has been published in German, English, Korean, and Portuguese is just around the corner. A Portuguese translation is concluded now, I hear from my colleagues in Brazil. So we will have a Portuguese version very, very soon, maybe within 2 months or so. It should be available. So yeah, I would say this has had a certain, it has resonated in the market. People are interested. Too few people, I think, are doing it yet, but I think we're getting there. Recently, we celebrated 5 years of OpenSpace Beta. So if you like, you can look up this stuff on my YouTube channel or the Beta Codex Network YouTube channel. So we talked with Daniel Mezig, Sergey Herman, myself, and Ryan Erickson. We talked about the past, present, and the future of OpenSpace Beta, and to explain these things further. Silke and I, just to give you a little bit of background, in 2018, we started to certify people or qualify people, but again, this is open source, so nobody is obliged to do our courses or get qualified by us or get certified by us. Anybody can use OpenSpace Beta, but still, of course, we want to give people a certification so that they can use this for career purposes. We certified, before COVID, we certified maybe 150 people. We recently started qualifications again here at our studio, and in November we will for the first time do the whole thing online. So at the beginning of November, I think on the 5th of November this will kick off. We will start the first full online qualification on OpenSpace Beta. So anywhere in the world in English, we will do this course or qualification for people everywhere in the world for the first time in November virtually. Yeah. It will be 6 half days of sessions and reading and exercises between the sessions. So very, very intense learning, I think. What's the role of Red 42 in this? I'm not sure if you understood or if you know. The Beta Codex Network is strictly non-commercial. It doesn't do any commercial activities. It doesn't earn money. It doesn't have money. It doesn't even exist as a company. So the idea of the Beta Codex Network is that it doesn't do business, but anybody can do business with OpenSpace Beta. We, for example, we sell these materials, and they have a cost and a price, and we can earn money with it. And anybody else can do the same. You can publish articles, write books, produce products around this. We have the concept overview poster, work posters, worksheets, and all kinds of stuff. And we see this as our role as Red 42, as founders or creators, that in our business, we produce materials that others can use, like the handbook. Yeah. Very convenient. You don't have to write a handbook for yourself. You can just use ours if you like. You don't have to. Yeah. And that is the role that we want to play. We want to help others, do it in practice and qualify people if they want. We sell materials and products and have developed work materials and so on, and learning materials, study materials. And one more role, we also see, of course, we do this stuff with clients too, So we continuously try to do OpenSpace Beta transformations with clients as well. But another role that we have been doing from the beginning is to supervise others, to help others to do this. So if you are a consultant and if you want to do OpenSpace Beta transformation with the OpenSpace Beta approach with clients, we can also, without the client knowing, supervise you so that the first time will not be too hard for you, because Silke, for example, she has done it a couple of times. She knows all the tricks of this and the dynamics and can help colleagues, peers, do this without struggling, without making too many mistakes. Yeah. So we do projects ourselves, but we also do supervision for clients, for colleagues and peers. Yeah, if they want to. Yeah. So yeah, where can you do this? I think I want to at least briefly mention. It's a half an hour talking already. I should get to the end, but one thing I have to mention: where is this possible? Where can you use OpenSpace Beta? What's the limits? And you might think, oh, this cannot work for very large organizations. We believe there's no limit in size. If you have a company with 200,000 or 400,000 people, you can still do it. Yeah, I will not justify this at length here, but we know for a fact that this can be done for very, very large organizations. Do you have to do it for very large organizations? No, one might say that even a very large, I live in Germany right now, maybe one of the largest organizations from Germany is Bosch. And if you look at that kind of company, maybe 300,000 people, or Volkswagen, 300,000 people or so. In fact, those companies, those groups consist of many, many smaller companies, and you could do the transformations independently with any of those sub companies or smaller companies within the conglomerate. So you do never have to actually do transformation with 400,000 people or more. But it is possible. Yeah, this approach scales. Don't believe what I'm saying. I'm just sharing information that I think is sound. Yeah, I'm not lying to you here or frauding you. We believe, and we have thought about this seriously, that this scales to very large organizations. But here's the thing: OpenSpace Beta probably doesn't work so well for very, very small organizations. So personally, we would not do it with companies that are smaller than 50 or 60 people. Why? One of the reasons is that OpenSpace, the large group format that we use twice in OpenSpace Beta, it starts working well with 60 people also. Yeah, it is not a small group format, it is a large group format. So we believe that the whole approach here works very well for organizations that have at least 60 people. Better 100, better 1,000. Yeah, doesn't make much difference, but there needs to be a certain size. Yeah, this is not the needed necessarily if your company only, or an organization only has 20, 30, 35 people. Yeah. A question or a comment that you want to make?
Yep, because you already answered a potential question.
Okay.
You said that it's scalable and can work for 400,000 people, companies, and I was wondering where the minimum right now is.
Yes.
Because, and that is a common link to a question. I mean, for me, from my understanding so far, what you created in my world, that OpenSpace Beta is a very contributive platform where we are all working together. However, you are stating self-organization versus management, right? But you have the roles, master of ceremony, for example, you have the sponsors and all of that.
Yes.
I mean, there's for me a little discrepancy, and my question exactly out of that would be, if all those roles are mandatory and all of that, in the company I'm currently building or currently working for, we are not there yet to even have those roles. Hopefully with 24 or 25, we can scale and grow into that amount. And so that is kind of, okay, where is it useful for me? How can I bring, does it even make sense if we have now maybe 7 to 10 employees to work with that kind of platform contribution, and isn't it too much then in the end? So these have been my common thoughts, questions, all of that.
Great. Does your company have only 10 people or so?
At the current state, yes. Even including us as a Gesellschafter, so to speak.
Okay, very good. Thank you for mentioning it. That gives me the opportunity to, because then I think you do not need OpenSpace Beta. If you have 10 people or so, I think what you need is this. It's another social technology. I'm not trying to sell you this. I'm just hinting at, I want to direct you at what you then need. Because look, I told you before that in OpenSpace Beta, the star of the show is this Beta Codex, right? The kind of decentralized cell structure organization, right? And this is kind of the content, that is the content that's shown in this concept here. We call it cell structure design. even your company with 10 people, you want to have a cell structure. You would have probably 2 or 3 cells in your organization. So this is the thing that you actually want to bring about. Do you need OpenSpace Beta to transform your organization with just 10 people? No, certainly not. Yeah, OpenSpace Beta, by the way, Peter Pröll, he has done an OpenSpace Beta transformation with a company that had 23, 25 people. Very small, but still he did OpenSpace Beta, and for good reason, I think, and he did it well. But if you only have 10 people, this is the thing you should go for, cell structure design. This is also based on principles of the Beta Codex, and this is the kind of organizational structure or the kind of organizational design concept that you want to implement. Yeah. So this is what you should look at. If you are interested in transforming a very small organization, this will suffice to you. Still, to do this, there's a few recommendations here. So these recommendations, take them to heart. Yeah, this is the way how to do this, even without OpenSpace Beta. By the way, I can prove this to you that this is written here. One of these recommendations here is, it mentions OpenSpace Beta. Here, number 3. It says, you need a highly inviting workshop sequence. A great number of people should elaborate the design together. For example, as part of an OpenSpace Beta chapter or process. Yeah, so this here hints at OpenSpace Beta. But again, in a smaller company, you need cell structures. I think you should work on this, but you do not need OpenSpace Beta. OpenSpace Beta is for the bigger companies. Yeah, especially when they have 60 people or more. Yeah, does that make sense? Still, some of the things that are here that are in this concept might be of interest to you. For example, the concept of invitation. Yeah, invite people to work this out together. Work out the changes together, not behind closed doors. Yeah? Don't coerce the change upon people, but invite people to do the work themselves together with all the women. Yeah. Okay, question answered. This scales, but you shouldn't do it with 10 people. You should definitely take a serious look at it at OpenSpace Beta if you have 60 people or more. Yeah. I hope this makes sense. Other questions at this point? That you might
there's
have?
there's one in the chat for you.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that. Are you familiar with the work of M.G. Taylor? The designs? I do not know. I have not. Do you want to say something about this, Alexander? The design shop. Example of literature. Okay.
Yeah, so the design shop is like a transformation process. So MG Taylor was a company, American-based. So Matt Taylor was an architect, and Gail Taylor was a teacher. So they kind of came together about the idea of changing organizations on a kind of improved process.
Okay, why are you asking this question, if I'm familiar with the work?
Just curious if there is any comparisons that you can make towards the open beta space approach, because to me they're like a commonality with the way they approach things, not thinking about it like a classic change management, but rather having togetherness and an organic approach towards change that all people involved or affected by the change should work with the change.
You can easily affect people with change management too, in a negative way, especially.
Yeah.
But okay, I do not know this concept. I just opened the file. I see that it's a lot of explanation. What I did not see in the file, sifting through it quickly, is this focus on invitation. And this is a characteristic that I have not seen in other approaches so far. There is a rigor of OpenSpace Beta that it must be by invitation. And what does this mean? The radicality is not so obvious, I think. The radicality is in this. In OpenSpace Beta, the sponsor, and this is where this starts with the OpenSpace Beta process, so to say, starts with this role here at the top left, the sponsor. That's one person. So it might be the CEO of a company, or the general manager, or the manager owner of a company. And this person must write an invitation to all those involved. So let's imagine it's a company with 500 people. So the sponsor will write an invitation and send this out one way or another to all of these 500 people, saying, okay, if you accept my invitation to do this transformation together, I for these and those reasons, I'm convinced we need a beta codex. We need to become a beta codex organization. We need to adopt these principles. We need to decentralize. We need to have less hierarchy and more decentralization, et cetera, et cetera. This is why I believe this is important. And then there would be something like, I invite you to come to this first OpenSpace meeting here on the left, on that and that day, in this location. But here's the thing, you do not have to accept this invitation. There's no punishment for not accepting. You can decline. There's no problem. But if you come prepared to OpenSpace meeting 1, come prepared, read about beta, make up your mind about what it is, think about what's important. We will all together define the topics we will discuss and agree upon there on the meeting. And with coming to OpenSpace meeting 1, you will be authorized to work the organization within the boundaries of the beta codex together with me during the 90 days. But you don't have to come. Only come if you really, really want to. So this principle of you can decline, it is opt-in. But still, of course, those people who are at the OpenSpace meeting, they will drive this forward. They will change they will transform the organization. But you must individually decide if you are part of this or not.
Can I come with a follow-up question? Just
yes.
So what happens, because typically in a change you have these people that don't want to participate, so they're like seen as agnostic towards it, or maybe secretly opposing it.
Yes.
So how to manage the kind of negativity that
no, it's not negativity. It's not negativity. People are free to.
Obviously, but
if you don't go, you are British. Are you British?
I'm Swedish. Sorry.
Swedish. Yeah. Lovely accent. Okay, but imagine you are British, and there is a voting on Brexit a couple of years ago, and you don't go to vote. It's okay. Nobody can force you. In Germany, in Sweden, voting, going to the election is voluntary, right?
Yeah.
Does not voting mean you are uninterested? It might be, but it may not be. There are hundreds of reasons why you may not vote, and use your democratic rights. And so it is with OpenSpace Beta. If you are interested in this concept, we believe there is no resistance to change. There is only resistance against shitty change methods, against foolish approaches to change, right? And OpenSpace Beta, or invitation-based time box change, together with all the willing, it guarantees that there will be no resistance to change.
Over time, huh?
Yeah.
And I think
none at all. None at all. Yeah, okay. Of course, there might be somebody opposed or agnostic, as our colleague just said. Somebody might choose to leave. But that's not even, you never know why people leave. They will tell you stories. This is one of the great secrets, or not so secrets of organizations, right? Whatever people tell you when they leave, it's not the truth, right?
I mean, for me, irritating part, and I do not mean irritation in a bad way, but it's kind of not triggering me, but it's kind of making myself a little bit uncomfortable.
Good.
Because again, from my understanding, it's voluntarily. It's depending from a kind of buy-in into the things, from a willingness of contribution. And I do like that you are dealing with consequences, so you have the chance to say no. Yes. But then you are out, and you need to do what all the others who are voluntarily opted in are deciding, and I mean, there are different types of people, right? So maybe if I'm the more shy one and I'm not so certain, a little bit insecure, so I better say no, and Yeah. But we all, as human beings, do have a kind of resistance to change, because it is the uncertain. It can be better, it can be worse, it can be this and this and that. And now those 500 people 250 said, hey, cool, I will accept your invitation. I will come prepared and will do everything. And that is a great chance for me as a person to create together and to convince and take the other 250 with us on the road. I think that is a development of time as they see that it's maybe not another shit change management approach, or how are you kind of getting those people who said for whatever reason, no, prepare extra work, whatever the reason is.
Yes, now you're touching upon the one essential aspect of all our work in the Beta Codex network and OpenSpace Beta as well. OpenSpace Beta is about working the system and not working people. Like when we say personnel development in most organizations, it means working on manipulating people. When we talk about incentive systems, it's about changing or working people. Now, OpenSpace Beta believe in the Beta Codex or in a democracy, we believe something else, that people are not the problem. We must change the system, and then people will naturally adopt to it. Some people might leave. These are organizations, right? If I'm Swedish, I cannot not be a Swede. I cannot just, I mean, I can burn my passport, or if I'm German, as I am, I can burn my passport, but I'm still German. I cannot leave, right? That's the difference between a country or a nation and a company. In a company, you can always leave, yeah? But here's the thing. This company, if the sponsor says, I really, really want Beta, I invite you to come to OpenSpace One. You do not have to come, but please come so that we can work the organization together. Please accept or decline my proposal, my invitation. And usually our experience is that much more than half of people will show up, but that's another story. So part of people shows up, part of the invitees declines the invitation, doesn't show up, which is okay. But remember this, the system will be changed in the 90 days. This is very important. It's like in Germany, after World War II, this country was turned into democracy. Do we still have some fascists here in Germany? I believe so, yeah, sadly. But do we have some Nazis, some fascists, and people who would like to be living in an authoritarian regime? Some of them even sit in our Bundestag, in our parliament, like Sarah Wagenknecht. Yeah, she says she hates our democracy and would prefer to live in a dictatorship of Stalinism again in the DDR. So these people exist. They even can sit in the parliament. Still, we do not give up democracy for them. It's like that here, yeah? Those people who will do the transformation, they will do the transformation come what may.
I was not kind of this personal wire working on the frame or the system, because that is for me a kind of a mandatory mindset you need to have, right? But for me, it was more the question, and maybe that is related to the 60, 90, and then 30 days, that you let the change be the ambassador for itself in the end, to kind of, there are people who are actively working on that, and there are people who decided to not, and that is fully okay. But you need the other portion of those people who decided not to actively work to really make the system change, because if there's half of it pro, and then you have half of it, right? So, and how is that going to happen?
Very simply.
Matter of time.
Remember that I briefly mentioned cell structure design? The other concept, cell structure design, to how to create this kind of structure that you see here, the green structure that you can see here with the bubbles, the cells as we call them, in the center and the periphery. Yeah. So any organization undergoing OpenSpace Beta transformation or transformation with OpenSpace Beta will adopt this kind of decentralized cell structure design. Small teams, approximately 7 people large, and they will have this whole network, and teams in the periphery are in charge and can make a profit. The center cannot make any profit, and so on. The center serves the periphery so that the periphery can serve the external client. Okay, that means that, let's imagine that only half people show up at OpenSpace One meeting. That still means that all the 500 people will find themselves after the 90 days or in the 90 days being part of such a cell structure, being part of at least one cell. Otherwise, they are out. So the structure will happen. But if people do not feel like working the system together, because this is very, very important. Yeah, this is about the sponsor takes the decision to. The sponsor must really, really want a beta organization, a self-organized organization, a democratic organization. And when the sponsor says, I invite you all to do this work together with me. This is just about doing the work together. And some people may not be interested in doing that for any kind of reason. And that's okay. Yeah. But still the system will change. Yeah. And of course, the experience is that a few people might leave or will leave. At DM Drogeriemarkt, a large German firm, now almost 70,000 people, 60,000 people, 70,000 people. At the time when they did this kind of transformation, not with OpenSpace Beta, as it didn't exist, but they did something very, very similar. Of course, a couple of managers left, yeah, because their positions were abandoned, so to speak. They kind of eliminated one layer of hierarchy. That the same kind of thing usually happens in a beta transformation like this. Yeah. So might those people leave? Most of them should find new jobs in the organization. That should be the approach, you know, and that's a natural approach to say, look, you're all great people. You were, you know, you had a career that brought you into that position. It's not your fault that we are eliminating that layer of hierarchy now. It's for the good of the organization, not your fault. But you must find new jobs in the organization throughout this transformation. And some might leave, but that's okay too. Yeah. So
I think then the answer to my question is, or my understanding right now, that you have microorganisms, which are those cells. And if each and every cell, half of it contributed, half of it not, for whatever reasons, but it's anyhow growing. And all of these microorganisms are then the system in the end, correct? So in our group, we two have been kind of opted out, and the other two have opted in, but due to the cells, I mean, we are anyhow working as a cell of 4 and getting the idea of it.
No. Very good question. Very good misunderstanding. Yeah, that you just talked about. No. The idea of OpenSpace Beta is this. In change management, very few people change the organization. Usually they don't. They just shuffle around the boxes, and with help of consultants who earn a fortune, you make everything worse. Yeah, that's what you usually do behind closed doors, a little group, and then kicking off, rolling out with force and fear and so on. Yeah. In OpenSpace Beta, it's the other way around. The sponsor invites everybody to do the systems design to work the system together. So in a way, OpenSpace Beta is the first way in which organizational development and change becomes totally democratic. Everybody can participate fully in it. They don't have to, but everybody can be a full, equal part in the organizational design. In a way, as natural as we think that division of labor is, and you do something different than I, and then we are a team and so on, the same way we now approach change. That's what OpenSpace Beta does. But here's the thing, that makes it very fast, very intense. You can do dramatic transformation. You can turn every company a Toyota in 90 days. That's the promise of OpenSpace Beta. But that also means that the system, for everyone, the system will change. It's like if you want to turn a country into a democracy, like Germany after World War II, it will be a democracy for everyone. You cannot exclude part of the Bavarians or part of the people from Hesse, where I live, right? Everybody now must be a Democrat. We even have a constitution that obliges us to behave in democratic ways. There are certain constitutional elements, paragraphs that say, yeah, you shall treat everybody equal and so on. First paragraph. So can I opt out of that paragraph? No. It is binding for all of us. And that's what this model, that beta model in this case that you see in this approach, and the self-structure, that will be binding for everyone. But the transformation will be done by everything together. That's what makes it so fast and so reliable. Of course. And here's, I think, the interesting thing that you are hinting at. So I'm glad about this conversation that we are having. There is a secret assumption here. And the assumption is, even if you have 10,000 people, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 people, everybody in an organization deserves beta. And secretly, knowingly or not knowingly, everybody wants beta. Even if they cannot imagine it, even if they think it's worse, everybody deserves beta. Just as every person in the world, even every Russian and Turk, currently not so democratic systems or regimes, that's why I'm mentioning them. Every human being deserves democracy. I'm totally convinced of that. You know? Even if somebody has a grudge with democracy, oh, because the COVID policy was so bad and so on. We might have grudges, but still, everybody is capable to be a Democrat. So everybody, the idea behind OpenSpace Beta is, it's the reasonable thing to do. Command and control is dead. It doesn't work. It sucks. It's a fuck up. Yeah. So beta is better. Of course, people can leave, but the idea is that even if they stay, ultimately this will work out and be better for everyone. There will be no losers. In beta transformation, we assume this kind of thing, OpenSpace Beta, will not produce any losers. It will have consequences. Some people might lose their titles eventually, or not even titles, because titles in beta, anybody can have title they want, but there might be privileges that might have to be eliminated. Not income. You will not cut people's income in a transformation like this, but there might be implicit cultural privileges or promises of career that you might not be able to fulfill in a beta organization. So there might be consequences that might be perceived as losses, but still, the idea of this process is it will create no losers. No losers. That's the conviction behind this concept. Sounds crazy, I know, but it's like democracy. Lots of consequences, no losers. Yeah. And of course, democracy is not. At any point, our political system is never perfect. It needs to be improved all the time. That same goes for a beta organization. Once you have concluded the 90 days, of course, you're not done forever. You will have to continue improving your system, of course. But in our experience, one chapter of doing OpenSpace Beta is enough. After that, the organization can continue for years to improve just like that. There will be a long agenda of to-dos after the 90 days to further improve, and people will know it and do it and feel authorized and compelled to do it. Yeah. Does this make it clear, Stefan? I know this is not exactly what you might have wanted to hear.
Yes and no. It is provocative, because you have compared it to a political system.
Yes.
That is a big trigger for me, because democracy per se would require that each and everyone should go to the election or shut the fuck up. So not each and everyone, only 50% of the people going to an election, but the other 50% are still raising their voice for it could have been better and that and here and there. So that is at least democracy really. And I do understand that what you are creating here, but for me, again, it requires contribution and the willingness to contribute to really make it cool. So at least that is.
And you will have lots of people who want to do that. Of course, you can easily transform an organization with 50 people, 50% of people being reasonably active. No problem. And you need a lot of people, but you don't need all the people to transform the organization.
And this is exactly then the thing, to see it in real life or working out how to take the other 50% whatsoever with them on the road that they see it. There's something.
That's not a problem. Once you change the system, people adapt.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that is then just happening over time, because you cannot stop it. Once you put the Stein ins Rollen, stone into rolling, then it goes, huh?
Yes. Once you change the structure, for example, during the 90 days, you will create a cell structure design, you decentralize, you create different kinds of functionally integrated smaller teams, and you will eliminate the departmental structures and command and control, many rules. You will eliminate many rules, the budgeting process, all these kind of bullshit. So once you do that, of course, then people's behavior will change. It might change immediately or only after the 90 days, but it will change. Yeah. Just like in a football stadium, once you enter the football stadium, you would start behaving in a certain way. And then you go to the opera, it's the same evening. And before walking into the opera or then sitting there, your behavior will start. It will change again. The same person walking into a football stadium and an opera will behave in totally different ways. Naturally. It's totally normal. Yeah. Like we behave differently in the kitchen than in the bathroom, hopefully. Yeah. We are used to this, and once the setting changes, and this happens during the 90 days of the transformation in OpenSpace Beta, the system will change, so people will behave differently. And of course, many people in the organization will contribute to this change actively. Others might remain more passive, but that's not a problem for the transformation. The real difference is that you activate in OpenSpace Beta, you activate people right from the start. Right from the start, very actively, very transparent. No behind the closed doors, no solutions being rolled out. There's no rolling out. You activate them in OpenSpace Meeting 1, you do the work, close it after 90 days. It's very straightforward. Everybody starts together, so to speak. Yeah. You just need the sponsor must really, really want beta to get this whole thing started that you see here. Yeah. I hope this made it a little bit clear. Of course, I cannot explain the whole concept to you here in this short session. This is just to...
So there's a lot of food for thoughts in your YouTube channel then and all of that. I think I need to familiarize myself with all of these things. A last question. You will still, after the transformation process, 180 days or those 150 days, and then there's this quiet period whatsoever, you will still have hierarchies. Because in a democracy, you have a hierarchy as well, right? So you have the parties and you have the Bundestag. And
that's not hierarchy. No.
Yeah, but they are elected to decide. They are elected to execute. And
that's not hierarchy. It's division of powers. Macht. How is it in German? Let's call it division of powers. There's a legislative, a judicative.
Sure, yeah.
I'm good at the English words right now. Yeah, right. You have in a democracy, you need to divide the powers. Otherwise, it's a good old authoritarianism. And in an organization, it's a little bit different in the way that yes, you have still somebody who can hire people legally and fire them legally, like a CEO. Yes. But for the work, it doesn't matter because the periphery will be in charge of the business. It's a very, I recommend you, especially, Stefan, if you like to learn more about this, I especially recommend you to read our little book about either Komplexitools in English, but Komplexitoden in German, or Central to Design, the book on self-structured design that we published in German. Highly recommended to understand more the mechanics of this organizational design and so on. Okay. There's a lot of free stuff on the internet, yeah. But I think that will make it clearer to you how this really works. It's decentralization stuff.
Can I find it on Amazon, your self-structured design available for Kindle?
Yes. Also for the Kindle, yeah. Dimitri, no questions, no comments? I'm happy to see you. I only see you on the web. I always think, oh, the guy's very intelligent and so on, but you never showed up.
I look intelligent because I keep silence all the time.
Any comments or questions that you want to ask or get?
Well, but yeah, it'd be probably a comment.
Okay.
The beta or beta in German and the self-structured design has been around, like in part at least, has been around for decades already in open source movement. The most successful projects in open source is kind of democratic projects. Yeah. You can go to GitHub and look the people talk about the feature or like should we include something or should we not include. Basically, they decide and they contribute. So if I like in case of software, if I think that this functionality is like nice to have, my fantasy or like a customer wants something like this, I can propose a change. I can create this and submit for review and for discussion. This is democracy, and this is a living organism. Yeah. And this has already been proved again for decades already.
Yeah, it needs no further proof. You're right, and that is just one example. I mean, there's the socio-technical systems movement. They found a coal mine in the 1960s that operated in a highly consistently self-organized manner with that kind of self-structure as well in the 1960s. Toyota has been doing this since the 1950s. Yes. So, or Handelsbanken has done this for 50 years, since 1971, very consistently. Yeah. So there's the proof is already here, for people who want to see it, the proof is here. The research is there, why this works, we know the scientific underpinnings, not just the cases. We know that we understand the theory, the concepts behind it, the philosophy, so to speak. But how to bring about transformation until 5 years ago, it was a riddle. can you transform a large organization? Nobody had a clear answer. And then this motherfucker, Daniel Mazik, he just found the solution for that. Yeah, and Silk and I, we just thought, shit, we wanted to have that idea, but okay, that dude had the idea, so let's ask him if we can. And he had open space agility. His concept was already open source, so he kind of taught us the open source idea as well. You're totally right. This has the decentralized beta way of working has existed for forever, probably, right? In many niches, in some niches of organizations, in other spaces like open source movement, it's nothing new. Beta codex, we do not claim that it's new. Much to the contrary, we want to make it available for every organization. We want to turn it into the standard. And I hope you all agree, decentralization, organizational democracy, small teams, highest levels of self-organization, that's very rare still. It's far from being a standard. The thing is not that we need it as something new, we need it everywhere. Also to improve our societies and democracies. We need to make workplaces democratic. That's what we believe. Every organization in the world should be beta. And maybe some rare, stupid organizations might be alpha. But today it's the opposite, right? Standard is still command and control, and we have very few beta organizations. Kurzor, Toyota, Handelsbank. Should be the other way around. Make sense? Great comment, by the way. Thank you. Any parting questions? Of course, this is meant as an invitation to stay in touch, if you like, and to anybody watching this on YouTube later, get in touch. I'm free to ask questions. Check out OpenSpaceBeta.com, which is the easy, simple link to the open source license and to the website where you find more information. There's a lot of stuff on the Beta Codex Network YouTube channel about this. I wrote a bunch of papers. We wrote a bunch of papers for the Beta Codex Network as well. So there's a lot of free articles and such on the internet. Of course, we also offer the products and service and the books, but nobody is obliged to buy them, as this is open source, free for everyone to use. Yeah? Any parting words? Satisfied? Then thank you for attending. I hope to see you all soon.